Welcome everybody to Palace Off the Top Rope presents SmackDown. This is episode number 5, and it originally aired on September 16th, 1999, emanating from Las Vegas, Nevada. Again, we're on the road to WWE Unforgiven, which is, I believe, a week and a half, I think, from this episode's original air date on pay-per-view. So the show opens up with the WWE referees picketing, striking, whatever you want to call it, outside of the arena because they're dealing with unsafe working conditions. And this is stemming from the events that happened Monday night on Raw. Now, we were trying to decide a number one contender for the WWE title, so you had 5 opponents trying to vie for that, but, the match just ended in chaos. Different referees tried to, settle it by counting pinfalls and whatnot, but they would all just get knocked out by all the different wrestlers. And then in the main event, you had Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H for the WWE title, and Stone Cold ended up knocking out the referee and thus causing a disqualification. So that's what the referees are dealing with. They got these unsafe working conditions. They don't want anything to do with any of the matches going on, and that's how we start off the show. And then we cut to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's coming out for a promo. He's talking about how, even though he got disqualified in his match Monday night against Triple H, that he's not done with him. He wants a rematch, and that he wants it to be no holds barred. Now, when it comes to Stone Cold Steve Austin and his promos, he's very straight and to the point. So this segment isn't very long, although Triple H does come out with China. And again, Triple H has got that security with him to back him up, cops, I guess you could say. And he's talking about how there's no way in hell that Austin's going to get any rematch from him, like that he blew his opportunity. But as Triple H is coming out, we learned from Michael Cole on commentary that courtesy of WWE.com, Triple H will be defending the WWE title in a 6-pack challenge match. Now, we're not quite sure what this is yet, but I'll get into it later when Michael Cole explains the rules of the matchup. So anyways, he says Stone Cold blew his opportunity, so he's not going to do that. But Triple H is going to be defending the title tonight on the show, but that he gets to pick his opponent, and it's going to be a main event caliber contender, so that could be anybody. But Stone Cold Steve Austin says, well, you know what? You're not going to give me my rematch, but I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to be stalking your ass all night, so you better just be watching your back. And I guess Triple H has the security, so he's not really that much worried about it. So that's the end of that little promo segment, which, again, was real quick because Austin's always straight to the point. Tells you what he wants, and we find out what the main event's going to be. Triple H defending the title against somebody. Up next, we have Shane McMahon, who's out for a quick promo. This is directed towards the Mean Street Posse, who are continuing to, harass Test and Stephanie, even though Shane McMahon told them to just back off already and let them, live their lives. And Shane McMahon issues a challenge to Joey Abs for a match and says that he's gonna, teach him a lesson and show him some tough love. This is what he's got to do, just to teach his buddies a lesson. So the Mean Street Posse shows up with Joey Abs. There's no referees, obviously. They're all picketing, as I told you, to start the show. So this match just begins for some reason. The bell rings, and they go at it. And like I said, the rest of the posse's out there. You got Rodney and Pete Gas. And they take turns trying to interfere in this matchup. But eventually, Gerald Briscoe shows up with a referee shirt to be one of these replacement refs. And there's continued constant interference from the posse, so Gerald Briscoe gets distracted with that. And then this leads to Pat Patterson, who's part of Patterson and Briscoe. He shows up as another replacement referee and again tries to, get things in order and get this match underway. But again, there's just so much chaos, and the posse are just getting their ways, and they're just continuing to interfere. But finally, Shane is able to low blow Joey Abs. And Sean Stasiak shows up as a replacement ref. And as we all know, or actually you don't know because this happened on Monday Night Raw, he got attacked by the Mean Street Posse. So he's got a little bit of a vendetta with them. So having him here in this in this segment makes sense because, they attacked him. So he shows up in the referee shirt, replacement win. Like I said, Shane McMahon gets the low blow on Joey Abs, pins him for the win. Sean Stasiak counts to 3. So there's the end of that. There's still a fight going on between the Posse, Patterson, Briscoe, and even Stasiak. Stephanie comes down to the ring. She's happy for Shane. And Tess is just standing at the rampway, just laughing it up. Kind of looks silly just being there, but again, just more to show you how much Shane McMahon is transitioning into this babyface good guy role. And that's the end of that segment. Up next, we have the WWF Women's Champion Ivory, who's out for a promo. She's talking about how she loves being the women's champ because, she gets to meet all these celebrities and athletes. And she points out in the crowd, Cindy Margolis. Now, for those of you that don't know, and I still don't really know that much about her, but I only know her because she was doing things with WWE back in the day, back in the 90s in the Attitude Era. But the most popular thing she was famous for back then was, and again, this was the start of the internet age. It isn't what it is now. It was, things were way different back then, but back then you had to download images of people, and she was the most downloaded woman on the internet. So that was basically what she was most famous for. But she was also like an actress, did some stuff, and obviously this show SmackDown aired on UPN, and she was also promoting her new show. I forgot what it was called. So anyways, Ivory invites her to come into the ring, and, Ivory's just, being in awe of her because she gets to meet celebrities. And again, she mentions the whole being the most downloaded woman on the internet, as I just mentioned. And she asked her, like, hey, could you, strike one of those poses that you do for your photos, like from one of your bikini shoots? And Cindy Margolis is kind of playing shy, doesn't really want to. She doesn't want to get in the way of the show. And Ivory's just keeps egging her on. And Cindy Margolis is just like, no, I don't really want to do this. And she tries to leave the ring. And Ivory grabs her by the arm in a threatening way and says, hey, I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling you, you're going to do a pose. So, out against her own will, Cindy Margolis does a cheap little pose. And then out of nowhere, Jeff Jarrett makes his way into the ring, and Cindy Margolis, already laying in the ring doing in a pose, puts her in the figure 4 leg lock to some massive heat. Again, he's building up to his match with Chyna, which is upcoming at the Unforgiven pay-per-view for the Intercontinental Championship. So they're trying to paint Jarrett as this woman hater, super misogynistic guy. So he puts the figure 4 on Cindy Margolis. She's no selling it at first. She's kind of just no. And, usually when you get put in the submission hold, you're in agonizing pain. So she's no selling it at the beginning, but then she starts to put on, more of an acting face. And, Ivory's there yucking it up. And then he finally lets go of her. And then as Jarrett's about to leave, he grabs Ivory, who's the heel. She's a bad guy champion. And Jeff Jarrett's a bad guy as well. He puts her in the figure 4 leg lock, and the crowd pops for this, and Jarrett's eating up to the crowd about this. So that's kind of dumb. He's the bad guy. He's supposed to be doing this for heat. But whatever, he puts her in the figure 4 leg lock because she's a woman, so he wants to get the heat on that. And I guess this accomplishes what it needs to here. So Jeff Jarrett just, gets the one up on both of these ladies, and feel bad for Cindy Margolis. Usually the celebrities aren't really put in a position to get embarrassed like this, but this is one of the few, because usually when celebrities come out, they usually get the one up or have the zinger on the superstars, because they're the celebrities. But Cindy Margolis, for back in the day, she was big, but not like a Schwarzenegger who shows up later in the year, or something like that. But so I guess they were okay with kind of putting her in this position to get, the heat on Jarrett. We cut to a backstage interview with Lillian Garcia and Triple H. She wants to know who he is challenging, or who he's going to pick for his opponent tonight in the main event for the WWE title. And he's just basically not giving her any answers and says, for sure that it's not going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Again, real quick, but Again, the mystery unfolding on who it's going to be, and the interviewer and the journalist wanting answers. So I like this little quick segment. Up next, we have the WWE European Championship match. It's going to be Mark Henry defending the title against Steve Blackman. Again, both guys are like heels. So on Monday Night Raw, they were supposed to be a tag team up against Val Venus and D'Lo Brown, but Mark Henry never showed up to be Blackman's partner. And WWE at the time had this thing called GTV, which was like security cameras or hidden cameras that would catch all these superstars in different acts doing sometimes they'd be doing crude things or or hilarious things or whatever. There was all these different types of things that these cameras would catch them doing. Anyways, Mark Henry was supposed to be Blackman's partner, never shows up for the match, and Blackman's wondering what the hell, so he loses the tag match handicap against D'Lo and who's the other guy? Whatever, I lost my train of thought. Whatever, he lost the tag match. So as Blackman's going up the rampway, they show the GTV, and it shows Mark Henry is I guess dealing with some strippers and getting lap dances. So that's what he was doing. So that's what leads to this matchup here. And again, it's real quick. Mark Henry gets the win. And we learned during this matchup that D'Lo Brown's going to be facing Mark Henry for the European Championship at the Unforgiven pay-per-view. He shows up after the match, goes at it with Henry for a little bit, gets to do his move, the Sky High, to Mark Henry. And if you know who Mark Henry is, he's a big guy. So seeing D'Lo Brown being able to pick him up for this move is pretty cool. So again, quick match, nothing of note, just the Unforgiven pay-per-view match that's going to be leading for these two. And I think they also announced Steve Blackman versus Val Venus. That's the other person who I just blanked out right now, but that's who he's going to be fighting at the pay-per-view. We cut to backstage. Cindy Margolis is being attended to by paramedics. She's going to be getting loaded into an ambulance. Obviously, she's selling the injury from the figure 4 that Jarrett just put her in. And again, the heat, they try to continue to build the heat on Jeff Jarrett. He shows up and he just continues jarring at her and talking about how he's going to take it to China at the pay-per-view. And out of nowhere, Test comes and says, you know what, stop giving her shit, leave her alone. And this leads to a brawl between the two, and then we go to commercial break. We come back, and Jarrett's getting interviewed by Lillian Garcia. He's obviously pissed. That's his character. He's always pissed. And he says he's going to fight Test later on tonight on SmackDown. We cut to Chris Jericho, who's out for a promo in the ring with his new bodyguard Curtis Hughes, who debuted on Monday Night Raw, as his feud with Ken Shamrock continues. In this promo, he's basically talking about how he's been having the one-up on Shamrock, and that Shamrock met him up backstage and admitted to be defeated by him and all this stuff. Obviously, commentary is saying not to believe Jericho and all this stuff. Jericho brings out a referee that's in a lucha mask, and talks to him in Spanish and whatnot, and that he's going to be the special referee, replacement ref, in the matchup coming with Curtis Hughes and Ken Shamrock. Now Ken Shamrock shows up, Chris Jericho joins the commentary booth, and not really much to this match except Jericho, who's hilarious on commentary. He's already such an awesome character, so entertaining, so energetic, obviously one of the best of all time. And this match quickly ends after Jericho gets involved, and both him and Curtis Hughes, beat up on Shamrock. And then, the referee never calls for the bell. Obviously, he's working for Jericho and Curtis Hughes. And the commentary team is wondering why he's not ringing for the bell. And finally, Shamrock is able to chase Jericho out of there, and him and Curtis Hughes leave. And Ken Shamrock tries to unmask the referee. Turns out it's Howard Finkel, who we thought was fired by Chris Jericho, but it looks like he's still trying to, get in his good graces and do all these favors for him and be like a follower, a Jerichoholic. And that's the end of that segment. We cut to Lillian Garcia, who's interviewing Mankind, who's going to be in what is being labeled as a 5-man Royal Rumble match. And the match is going to be Mankind, The Rock, The Undertaker, Big Show, and Kane. And these are the guys that were supposed to be the number one contenders, are trying to figure out who is going to be on Monday Night Raw, and that led to all that nonsense with the refs and then picketing and striking. So that's where we're at this point. So yeah, Mankind's getting interviewed here, and he's talking mostly about how him and Rock are still going to be a team, and Mankind's doing some zingers here, and he wants to learn more from The Rock. Again, the Rock and Sox connection is again a really strong, one of the really strong things about the Attitude Era, especially late in '99 when Stone Cold Steve Austin was kind of like getting sidelined with injuries, and then his eventual finally getting phased out because he needs neck surgery, and we'll get to that later down the line when we come to SmackDown in November. But yeah, this is just real quick here. Mankind just zinging and zanging, and just throwing The Rock's catchphrases out there, and just wanting to show that this team is going to continue to build. And up next, we do have the 5-man Royal Rumble match. But it is also learned on commentary here that Triple H will be defending the WWE title at Unforgiven in what is being called a 6-pack challenge. Now, this is the first time that WWE is doing a match like this. And he's explaining the rules, and once he does, and I'm going to say this is just a dumb idea, and then it makes whatever's going on for this match even more dumb, and I'm going to explain why. So the rules of the 6-pack challenge is there's 6 competitors, right? They're all going to be fighting. But the thing is it's in tag format. So you'll have 2 guys in the ring, and then the rest will be outside the ring, and they have to get tagged in order to be competing in the match. And what this match is about, this 5-man Royal Rumble match, is that whoever wins will get to be the one competing first in the ring when the match starts at the pay-per-view. But it's like, why would you even want to win this match? Wouldn't you rather have 2 other guys start out, beat the hell out of each other, and when they do, then you tag yourself in the pay-per-view match and try to get the win? So I really think this is a dumb idea of a match, but they're going to do it anyway. So it's The Rock who comes out. He's taking jabs at all these guys that he's going to be in the ring with, and The Rock obviously is in top form already with his zingers, making fun of The Undertaker and Kane and Big Show, the Big Slow as he calls them. So the Big Show and The Rock start the match. And again, since this is a 2-hour show, everything is really condensed and everything has to go by fast because they have so much to get through. So the intervals of let me say this real quick before I get back into it. So a Rumble match is usually, it starts with 2 guys, and then every minute and a half another superstar comes in. Now that's for the actual Royal Rumble 30-man when they have the pay-per-view. That's how that works out. But here, since it's just 5 guys, and since the show's only 2 hours, each competitor comes basically within 30 seconds of each other. So what's the point of it even being a Royal Rumble match? So, they should have just made it a Battle Royal where they're all already in the ring, and then you eliminate one after the other. But whatever. So it starts with Big Show and The Rock, and minutes later, Mankind shows up, and then Kane comes out next, and then Undertaker's the final entrant, but he never really gets in the ring. He's not even dressed to compete. He's in street clothes. And the Undertaker's supposed to be this dark guy. That's his gimmick, right? The dead man. So he's usually decked out in his satanic gear and all that stuff. But here he's already starting to transition into his biker gimmick role, which we're going to see later on in 2000 when he returns in May next year. But you already see him here wearing the bandana, and he's got the black glasses on, kind of already looking like a biker. And whatever, he joins the commentary team, and The Rock is basically getting most of these guys out of the ring. One of the funny things that happens here on commentary is that Undertaker's talking about Kane, right? And he's like, look at Kane, ever since he dropped that toothpick, referring to X-Pac, ever since that they broke up, when it was really X-Pac who ended the friendship and partnership. He's like, look at Kane, now he's like a hunter, he's a killer. And then right after the Undertaker says this, he gets eliminated by Mankind of all people. So, and then The Rock throws Mankind out of the ring. So it's down to Big Show and The Rock, since Taker's not really in the match, but he is in the match. They're going at it, and then they're closer to the edge of the ring, and Undertaker's pissed that Big Show's not getting it done. He's getting beat up by The Rock, and Undertaker says that he's got to finish this on his own. So he goes into the ring, throws out both the Big Show and The Rock, and The Undertaker's the winner of this match. So apparently he's going to be starting the six-pack challenge match with Triple H at the pay-per-view. But spoiler alert, Undertaker never makes it to this match because, like I said, I think he's hurt. And again, we're going to see him like vanish from WWE or go on a big hiatus for a very long time. But we'll see how we get there. But he wins this matchup here, and the Big Show's pissed. He comes in, wants to get into it with Taker. Viscera and Mideon show up, former members of the Ministry, and they're there to protect Taker. The Rock tries to get revenge, takes a steel chair into the ring. You know, he hits on Viscera and Mideon, but then he gets laid out by the Big Show. Big Show is able to take the chair from him and whack him over the head. And The Rock just gets laid out here. And again, Undertaker has whatever influence he has over the Big Show, and they leave together. And that's the end of this matchup, which, again, I don't like because why would you want to be first in the six-pack challenge match when you can just be standing there and let these guys who start the match at the pay-per-view and let them beat the hell out of each other and then make your way in and try to win? But I don't know, that's WWE logic for you. You know, we didn't complain about it at the time because, again, the superstars and the storylines, everything's so awesome. You're not prone to pick on the little things, which we so easily do these days because the superstars aren't really that engaging. So you're quick to easily point out all the flaws. At least me as a diehard fan. I don't know about you guys. Up next, we have the Hollies, who are out, and apparently on Raw they had issued a challenge to Chyna to a tag match for her to find a partner. Well, the Holly says Chyna's time is up, and you know she needs to show up and see who she's going to have in the match. Chyna eventually comes down to the ring, says she's going to go at it alone, and that's what we have here. We have the Hollies versus Chyna in a handicap match. So Chyna's, you know, in this match here with the Hollies. She's going back and forth with them. Out of nowhere, Billy Gunn shows up to be her partner. Now, this is where I start to get confused, and I even just start laughing because it's so silly, because he cost her the match last week. And, you know, he gave her the move and, you know, just got revenge and whatnot, and we figured they weren't anything anymore. So he comes down to the ring, and he's showing, like, all this sympathy, like, that he wants to be her partner. And he does. He gets on the apron, and this match continues to go. Chyna finally, you know, is starting to get in the upper hand on hardcore. But then, you know, Billy Gunn blindly tags himself in, you know, and then starts going apeshit on the Hollies. And then he picks up the win. And then him and Chyna, like, start going at it again. You know, they're in each other's faces. And then out of nowhere, again, Jeff Jarrett comes out, attacks Chyna with a frying pan. And Billy Gunn, during all this, he just leaves. He just fucking leaves. I don't get it. This makes no sense from character and storyline standpoint. He just leaves, doesn't help Chyna, even though he showed up to be her partner and then won the match, and then just leaves out of nowhere. And I was just confused by the whole thing. Like, what? So anyways, he knocks out Chyna with his frying pan, right? And again, Jarrett's trying to get the heat. He's a misogynist. He's a woman hater. And he has Deborah and Miss Kitty come out. They have some things with him, and it turns out they had a cooking apron, which he puts on her, on Chyna. She's laid out, and she's got the cooking pan in one, or the frying pan in one hand, and the other Jarrett puts like a cooking spoon, and just continues to berate her. And yep, just more heat and more build up to the match for the IC title at Unforgiven. And again, this is just so weird because you see Chyna in this storyline, and you know she's getting cheered and she's supposed to be the hero, but then you see her with Triple H and doing all these dastardly things. So she's like a heel in one point and then a face in another, and it's really weird. And I mean, it's going to come a point where they're going to separate completely, but it's weird seeing Chyna go back and forth. Like it's almost like it's different universes, but nope, it's the same show, same world. We cut. I'm so sorry. This is the part of the show that's going to get so. I was laughing so much because this was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen on this show, or just in general, one of the dumbest things I've seen in WWE. So Lillian Garcia is interviewing the Big Boss Man. She's talking about this upcoming match that Al Snow and Big Boss Man are going to have. It's called the Pepper on a Pole match. Okay? Now listen to that, folks. We all know, as I told you about in one of the previous episodes, the Big Boss Man cooked this dog and fed it to Al Snow. Well, apparently there still remains some form of this dog food, and it's in a white bag, and you see it here in this interview, and it's labeled doggy bag. Oh my gosh. Okay. And they're talking about this like it's some serious match. And first of all, like, Big Boss Man has the bag already. What the hell does he need to put it on a pole and try to win it again? And why would he want to win it? It's remains of a dog that's been cooked up. I can't. Oh, okay. Oh, whatever. So it's a quick interview, and, you know, Boss Man's just, you know, whatever, hyping up the match. So we're getting ready for this matchup, right? And we're learning on commentary from Michael Cole that there's going to be a Kennel from Hell match at Unforgiven between Al Snow and the Big Boss Man. Now, what this match is going to be is it's going to be a regular steel cage, right, that's going to surround them in the ring. And then on top of that, they're going to bring down the Hell in the Cell, which is another big steel cage, but this one has a top on it, so there's no escape. And apparently around the cage, there's going to be Rottweilers, like real dogs, like surrounding the ring. Now, on paper, and me telling you this sounds awesome. But I tell you, once we come to the pay-per-view, and obviously I won't be reviewing that, but this ended up being one of the worst ideas that WWE has ever done on their pay-per-view for a concept of a match. But anyways, we have this Pepper on a Pole match. And even the announcer says it. The following is a Pepper on a Pole match. And you see the pole in the ring, and you see the white bag with, it says doggy bag on it. I'm still dumbfounded by this and how stupid this whole match is. This whole storyline is out of control. It's so cartoonish. But, you know, there's all this other great stuff going on so back in the day, you can look at it at the moment and be like, whatever. But in hindsight, this was so bad. And I was laughing the whole time. I was laughing for a good 5 minutes during this. So you have Al Snow and Big Boss Man have this match, and then I guess, you know, they're trying to win the remains of this dog in this doggy bag. And they're having the match. And then at one point, the British Bulldog, who inserted himself into this feud last week with the Hardcore title, he comes out with some Rottweilers or people that are holding some Rottweilers. And they're surrounding the ring. And this scares the Big Boss Man, who at this point has the advantage and grabs the doggy bag, which means he should be the winner, right? But apparently to win the match, you have to have the doggy bag and land on the floor with it. So this is a stupid Boss Man throws the doggy bag outside the ring. Al Snow is able to get the bag and win. And the Boss Man gets scared and runs away or whatever. But Michael Cole on commentary says, oh, look at Al Snow's the victor. He's finally reunited with the remains of his cooked up dog that's in a doggy bag. And I'm ashamed that I just reviewed that for you guys, but I can't. Like, it's just, oh man, that was dumb. That was so dumb. But again, wrestling can be so over the top, but I love it. But there's moments and there's stuff, and there's been so many things throughout the years where, you know, you scratch your head and you're like, why do I watch this? And, you know, if I was introducing somebody to wrestling, or, you know, if I'm dating a girl and telling her about my interests and talking about wrestling, I would never, ever bring up something like this that was shown or that was created for this WWE company. Yeah. But it happened, and, well, we're going to move right along. we cut to a segment of Triple H outside the arena with China and the cops. And again, Triple H is, I think, kind of worrying about Austin here. I forgot what he was saying. But again, he's getting ready for who he's going to face and who he's going to pick for his opponent in the main event tonight. And here's another segment here that just made me laugh hysterically. So they show Triple H and the cops in China. They kind of move out of frame, right? So the camera zooms in on a 18-wheeler truck. I think it's like a big white 18-wheeler truck. And the back door is open, right? And you see real, creepily lurking is Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the way it's shot, it's so funny the way Stone Cold is just lurking there. And, this just continues the continuity. He said he was going to be stalking him. Although they only have this one shot of him in this one segment. I really thought that the whole episode was going to have him, being in the background in so many of these little skits. But they have this one here, and it's enough, and it made me laugh. Because you don't really see Stone Cold as being just, lurking around. Usually if he wants to whip your ass, he whips your ass. But Triple H has cops around him, so yeah, he's going to have to lurk and be at a distance because he doesn't want to get arrested. So I thought that was really funny. But again, just a good touch to the whole Steve Austin telling him he's going to stalk him. And yeah. Up next, we have Jeff Jarrett versus Test. The posse shows up to ringside during this matchup. And again, it turns into real chaos real quick. Sean Stasiak again shows up again, and like I said, this thing just erupts. It's a nothing match, and it's it's building up Jeff Jarrett again, one of the heels going up against China, and then Test, who he's on the up and coming because he's about to marry Stephanie McMahon, the boss's daughter. And yeah, that's it for that. Not really much notes on that. We finally come to the main event of the show. Triple H is out for his match. The first thing he wants before anything is he wants Shane McMahon to be his special referee replacement ref. Because obviously there's no regular refs, as that's been the story that's been told throughout the show. And the refs and commentary team, or not refs, the commentary team has been real good about noting that in every match, that there's been somebody, either a legend or whatever, a ring official, ring announcer. Even they're all taking their hands at being referees. But yeah, he wants Shane as the special referee. And they actually cut to the back, and you see Shane McMahon, Linda McMahon, and Vince. They're all in the locker room. And, Vince is kind of like, are you sure you want to do this? And Shane's like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. I can handle this. And he goes out to the ring and whatever. I think Triple H still thinks Shane is his buddy. And Chyna's there, she's got her arm on his shoulder. She thinks everything's all still good. Anyways, Triple H is teasing who he may be fighting. He teases Mankind, The Rock, Kane, basically all his opponents that are supposed to be at Unforgiven for this six-pack challenge, but it's going to be none of them. Obviously, he counts Austin being out of it. And we finally get revealed who he wants to fight, and it's Vince McMahon himself. And Vince is obviously in the locker room with Linda. They're in a room, and they're watching Triple H, and Triple H can see him on the big Ovaltron. And he's just egging him on and egging him on and egging him on. And Vince is reluctant. He doesn't want to do anything. And then finally Triple H has to make it personal. Starts talking about Linda, how he wants to do things to her. And obviously this sets Vince off. He finally comes out. And this is just real good storyline-wise because Vince McMahon doesn't want to get involved. He said he made a promise that he wasn't getting involved in any business affairs involving WWE. Because this goes back to the end of an era match, First Blood, with him, Austin, and Undertaker back in July, where if Stone Cold had lost his match, he would have lost the title. But if he won, that meant Vince McMahon would no longer be involved in WWE. So I'm at least glad that they're remembering that, because I remember when I was watching this as it aired live in '99. I was really like thinking like, man, they don't care about storylines. They don't care about, like, it didn't matter, I guess. It kind of felt like that whatever happened back in July didn't matter. And obviously, if you look in hindsight, it didn't, because Vince is obviously back on TV and back in storyline. But he's mentioning in it here that he doesn't want to be involved in any affairs, including the WWE title and all that stuff. He says that's business. So he said, I don't want to be involved in that, and don't make this personal. So that's pretty cool that they still mention this, even though he is on television, he's a character, and he's still being involved. But again, Triple H is egging him on, and again brings up Linda McMahon and talks about that he's going to do something to her physically, and this finally sets off Vince, and they have the match. Shane McMahon, special guest referee. Most of the match is Triple H just beating the hell out of Vince. Obviously he's not a regular wrestler, so Triple H is able to just get the beat on him. Vince is in regular clothes. Shane is there throughout the whole match, just trying to will his father on, telling him to get up and to go after it. And at one point, China gets involved, and they start getting all these different types of interference. And Shane is trying to do the best he can to get everything in order. And finally, Triple H gets a chair into the ring, and boom, he knocks out Shane McMahon because he just has had enough of him. And then he knocks out Vince McMahon with the chair, which busts him open. So Vince McMahon's bleeding all over the place, and he's just beating up on him. And this brings out Linda McMahon, who's worried. She comes down alongside Patterson and Briscoe, and they get into the ring. They try to stop Triple H, but China gets involved in this and that. And then Linda tries to come into the ring to help Vince, but China gets a hold of her, holds her back. Triple H is just getting ready to put the final nail in the coffin of Vince McMahon. And then the glass shatters. Stone Cold Steve Austin's music hits. The cops are at the entranceway, so there's no way he can come out through the entranceway. And Triple H is looking all over the place. Austin comes through the crowd, starts beating up on Triple H, gives the stunner to China, lays down Triple H with the stunner, and then he sees everybody lying down, and what does he do? He takes Vince McMahon, drags him, puts him on top of Triple H, revitalizes Shane a little bit, and then makes sure Shane counts the 1, the 2, and the 3. Vince McMahon is now the WWE Champion. Austin runs through the crowd, not really running away, but just he did what he was supposed to do. And obviously the security or the cops are going to be after him. Triple H is pissed. He runs through the crowd chasing after Austin. And the show ends with a bloodied Vince McMahon holding the WWE title. What does this mean now? What's going to happen at Unforgiven with the six-pack challenge? Obviously, I will tell you what's up on the next episode, because that's going to wrap up this one. And I enjoyed it. It's a fun episode. Not as great as the one last week, but that was just like an all-timer. But this was still a fun episode. Stone Cold Steve Austin, although he was my favorite, he was kind of like the side piece until he made his way to the main event at the very end and did what he does. Vince McMahon is the WWE champion. What the hell's going to happen next? Tune in to the next episode. That's going to do it. Thank you for joining me. If you've listened to this, if you're a diehard wrestling fan, check out these episodes as I'm watching them and reviewing them for you. And we'll see you next time. This has been Palace Off the Top Rope presents SmackDown.